When Abraham Lincoln was elected as president in 1860, Southerners thought the government was becoming too strong. They did not think the government had the right to tell them how they should live. Southerners felt if they stayed in the United States, the North would control them. Some Southern states decided that they had no choice. They decided to secede or leave the United States. South Carolina was the first to leave the Union and formed a new nation called the Confederate States of America. 4 months later, 6 other states succeeded. They were Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Texas, and Louisiana. Later, Virginia, Arkansas, North Carolina, and Tennessee joined them. The people of these states elected Jefferson Davis as president of the Confederacy. The northern states were called the Union. President Lincoln said he would fight to keep the southern states as part of the United States. There were Union forts on Confederate land. The Confederates wanted Union soldiers to leave these forts. In Charleston, South Carolina, there was a Union fort called Fort Sumter. The Union soldiers refused to leave this fort, so the Confederate fired cannons at the fort on April 12, 1861. This was the beginning of the Civil War.
It is 1858, and I am running for senator against Senator Stephen A. Douglas.
I am known as the Little Giant. I am a powerful speaker for the campaign.
I challenged Douglas to a series of debates.
One of the topics that has to be debated was slavery.
Slavery is wrong. Nothing is wrong. I firmly oppose slavery spreading to any new territories. Even though I lost the election, the debates made me well known across the country. I faced Douglas again this time. We are both running for U.S. President in 1860. It is 1860, and my previous campaigns as senators have made me popular.
I am known as the Little Giant, and I am running against Lincoln again.
They kept debating. In the end, the North put a bunch of votes to put Lincoln in the White House. Then, when his term ended, Northern voted overwhelmingly endorsed the leadership and policies of President Lincoln. When they elected him to a second term, this was not good support for the South.
Firmly against the spread of slavery, I pledge to leave slavery alone where it already exists. However, if no new slave states were admitted to the Union, free states will soon be a majority in Congress, but the South will lose political power. Some Southern states are talking about seceding if I was elected. Secede means withdraw from membership in a federal union, an alliance, or a political or religious organization. When I won the election, people waited to see whether any states would carry their threat of seceding from the Union. I am writing the Emancipation Proclamation. Emancipation means to free someone. The Emancipation Proclamation says on January 1st, 1863, people with slaves in any state shall be then forever free.
This proclamation ended slavery in the Confederacy. The Emancipation Proclamation changed the way people think about the Civil War. It was a struggle for the Union. It is now a battle to end slavery. Southern slave owners were outraged because of this proclamation. They felt like Lincoln had no right to take away their slaves. They felt like he was just stealing their private property. The Northern abolitionists were overjoyed about this. Abolitionist means a person who favors the abolition of practice, institution, capital punishment, or formerly slavery. Frederick Douglass is an abolitionist.
I wrote, "We are overjoyed that we lived to record this righteous event."
In 1863, an act was passed by Congress and signed by the President for mandatory establishment for the Union citizen. It states able-bodied men through 25 to 45 to military conscription. They had no choice to join the Army. They could evade this act by paying the fee for $300. They made this rule because the North was losing too many battles, and so they made the first Conscription Act to force people to join the Army.
I am watching a play at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. Who are you?
I'm your worst nightmare.
Wilkes Booth had shot Lincoln in the head. The next morning, he died a painful death. Lincoln's coffin was put inside the Illinois State House, and John was arrested for assassination. Hey, did you know that Booth's brother slave saved Lincoln's son's life. When Lincoln died, Vice President Andrew Johnson became the new president. While Johnson was clearly intelligent, Lincoln was a genius. One of those extraordinary people who only come, Douglas did not know Andrew Johnson when he came to Washington, D.C. Robert Edward Lee was an American career military officer and education administrator, who is the best known for having commanded the Confederate Army of the Northern Virginia and in the American Civil War.
My path was blocked by Union soldiers. This is nothing left for me to do, but go to the General Grant.
The Confederate Army was ready to surrender on April 9, 1865. Grant and Lee met at the Appomattox Courthouse, Virginia.
I am wearing a crisp gray uniform. I have to look my best. I may be Grant's prisoner.
I do not take prisoners. Each man will be allowed to return to his home, not to be disturbed by the United States authorities.
After Lee surrendered, Jefferson Davis fled westward, where he hoped to keep the Confederacy alive. On May 10, 1865, he was captured. Davis was later imprisoned for 2 years at Fort Monroe in Virginia. When Robert E. Lee returned from the Appomattox Courthouse, he told his men, "I have done the best I could do for you. Go home now. I shall always be proud of you." Grant told the Union troops, "The war is over. The rebels are our countrymen again." The soldiers returned to their homes. So in the end, the Civil War was also a battle of morality and power, because the South thought slavery was moral and the North thought it wasn't. And through the war, the politics affected the decisions made in war, like time when slavery abolished the South economy, racially suffered, and was in great need of reconstruction. So reconstruction was affected.